Live launching is one of my favorite parts of my business. It always refreshes and renews my excitement for my program and for my business, but it can be a lot. And in fact, in the next couple of weeks, I will be chatting with my online business manager, Emily, and we're going to go into very specific detail about our six-figure live launch strategy, meaning we earn six figures within one live launch. So we're going to be telling all the details about that. So make sure you stay tuned for the next 2 weeks. But I kind of wanted to kick off this live launch series and talk about things that I am currently seeing that are working really well. Now, these things are not that hard to do, I will say. And when you think about live launching in general, you may have anxiety about it. You may think, I don't want to live launch, it's just too much work. And I am not going to lie, it can be a lot of work, it can be a lot of moving pieces, but you don't have to do all the things in the beginning. So if this is your first launch that you're gearing up for, please don't feel like you have to do it all. And we really go into detail about that next week. But I wanted to hit on three main things that I am seeing work really well with live launches right now that may not always work in the future. So it's great to test them now in your business because they're working right now for me. So the first one is every time I have a live launch, I have a pop-up Facebook group. And let me just back up here because I may be getting ahead of myself, just so you know what a live launch is. I did an episode a while back about live launching versus evergreen, but all a live launch means is you have some type of event that is time sensitive. It has a date and a time that this event is happening, like a challenge or a video series or a webinar, and you try to get as many people to sign up for this event as possible. And then at the end of the event, you open the doors to your program. Now, it's called live, but the actual event doesn't necessarily have to be live. It can be a pre-recorded challenge. I always do pre-recorded. It could be a pre-recorded webinar, but the thing that makes it live is people can't sign up for it any day throughout the year. It's at a certain time, and then the doors open to your program, and then the doors close after a certain amount of time. So that's what a live launch is. So because this is time sensitive and you're kind of squeezing everyone into this live launch funnel, a pop-up Facebook group has really, really helped with building excitement for your program. So what is a pop-up Facebook group? It's a Facebook group that you create specifically for this live launch event, for this challenge or video series or webinar. And only people that sign up for this event get into the Facebook group. Now, the event is usually free. However, I have seen paid events. I have seen events where you have a free version and then a VIP version. I have tried that. I honestly don't love that. I love having the free event because it really gets as many people into the top of your funnel as possible. And the funnel just means what takes someone from a person that doesn't maybe know you or maybe knows you, but they're not a customer yet, and you funnel them down into being a customer, being part of your program. So what I will do is I will create this pop-up Facebook group and I will call it the name of my event. So for my teacher business, I always have a challenge called the Resource Challenge. So the Facebook group is called the Resource Challenge Summer 2023. So I like to give it a date so that when people join, they're like, oh, this is like right now. This is not something that I can pay attention to whenever. This is happening this summer. I need to figure out when this is happening. This is time sensitive. So it gives people that urgency to participate in the challenge. So they request to be in the group. You ask if they're signed up for the challenge. You can ask for their email address, but I try to limit the friction for getting in the Facebook group, and I allow everyone into the group, even if I'm not sure they've signed up, because once they're in the group and they see the challenge starting to happen and they see people participating and they're not signed up, then they're going to be like, wait, I'm missing out. I need to sign up. How do I sign up? And we get posts like that every year. Once the challenge is started, wait, I'm not getting the videos. Well, they never signed up. So here's how you sign up. Here's how you can catch up. So everyone is funneling into this group. And I usually open the Facebook group 2 weeks before my challenge starts. So you could do it 2 weeks before your webinar or your video series or whatever you're doing, boot camp for your launch. And for the 2 weeks leading up to the challenge, I am posting usually every day. However, remember, I have a team of 2 people now that do so many wonderful things for me, and I would not survive without them doing all of these things. I used to do it all by myself, so I was not posting every day. I was posting maybe every other day, and it might be me waking up in the morning and grabbing my phone and just making a quick post in the group. But the posts you want to make before your live launch event should be easy to engage posts. So nothing like, what's your biggest fear? Or, you can ask things about pain points, and that is really good market research, but you don't want all the questions to be about that because those are harder to answer. And the main purpose of the group leading up to the launch, the challenge, the video series, whatever, is to get the engagement up in the group. And there's a reason for that. Facebook loves new groups that have tons of engagement. So when you open this new group and you're funneling all these people in and they are commenting and they're liking and they're dropping emojis and GIFs, and I'll give you some examples of posts in just a second. But Facebook says, oh my gosh, this group is really hopping. I need to promote this group to other people. So even people that haven't signed up for the challenge or don't even know who you are, Facebook might recommend your group to them. And that's another way to get free people into this challenge. Also, most people will check Facebook multiple times a day. If your group has all of this new engagement, when someone opens the Facebook app on their phone, your group posts will be at the top of their feed because Facebook loves engagement. And they're seeing that tons of people are engaging in this group. Hopefully it'll keep people on the app longer. Let me show this post first. That's why I love pop-up groups versus maybe a group you already had. Now you can totally test it. I'm not saying that you have to do a pop-up group. You definitely don't. But I've always done one and I always feel like it's a great idea. So just a couple of examples of posts that I make in the group leading up to the challenge. It could be as easy as describe your day using emojis, or drop a gift to describe your day. Drop a gift to describe how you feel about your business. And for you, it would be whatever your niche is about. Drop a gift to describe how you feel about your dog's behavior, or baking, or starting an Etsy store, whatever. And that can kind of give you a feel of how people are feeling without them having to think about this thought out response. Now, I do have little pain point market research posts woven in there. So maybe what's the number one thing you're struggling with right now when it comes to growing your Instagram or whatever your niche is. And that will give you some insight into maybe what you need to address in the challenge. So as far as the challenge videos or the webinar or whatever, you're probably already going to have that done, right? But maybe you want to go live in the group or just make a post in the group about, hey, are you feeling like no matter what you do, you can't get any Instagram followers and it just takes a ton of time and you don't have the time. Here are 3 tips to help you save time. And people are going to see that and say, that's exactly what I'm struggling with. This person knows what they're talking about. So it's just great market research there. Okay, so pop-up group, that's number 1. And next week and the next couple of weeks, we'll go into more detail about what we post during pre-launch, launch, and post-launch in the group. But just to kind of give you an idea of what we do with our pop-up group. Now, if you're doing multiple launches a year, I always make a new group, but you could definitely use the same group, especially if you're doing the same launch. It's up to you. Test it. Test it out. Don't ever follow someone's advice blindly. Test it for yourself, because what works for one person in one niche may not work for another. So I'll never tell you foolproof this is 100% going to work for you. Test it and see. And if it doesn't work, don't do it anymore. Simple as that. Okay, number 2, live launch tip. Try multiple types of urgency. So first of all, you need at least one type of urgency in your live launch. Typically, you will see cart close, doors close, meaning the doors to your program are only open for a certain amount of days, usually like 3 to 7 days. And after that cutoff, people cannot join anymore. So it's like a hard end date to the launch. And after that, maybe you're starting a cohort where you're doing some live trainings, but it doesn't even have to be like that. It could just be like, I'm closing the doors. I need to focus on my new members. It won't open again for a few months. You don't even have to tell them when it's going to open again. But I will say, don't use fake urgency, because that is not cool. Don't say you're going to close the doors and then really they're open again in a week. Close the doors and then actually close them. I would say for at least, 6-8 weeks, at least a month. It's up to you and how you feel about that in your business. But I usually close the doors for 6 weeks, 8 weeks, and then I may start my evergreen funnel again or something. But I never want to lie. I always want to maintain integrity in my business. So what are some other types of urgency that you can pair with that to really encourage people to make a decision? And I feel like urgency gets a bad name. It's like, fake countdown timers, and you hear that all the time. You want your urgency to be real, first of all, but you want your urgency to feel good and not feel like you're forcing people to join. You're not forcing people to join. You're encouraging people to make a decision. And you're doing that because you know people are busy, and if you don't have a reason for them to make a decision, then they will not. They will put it off, they will procrastinate, they will forget, because we have so many things going on in our lives. It makes sense. So that's why anytime you see like a sale on a website, the sale doesn't run for forever. It's only for a certain amount of time. So everyone in business who knows what they're doing in business uses some type of urgency. Just make sure it's real urgency and it's not too in their face. You're just letting them know, like, you need to make a decision, the best decision for you by this deadline. If not, you're going to miss out on these things. So other types of urgency besides closing the doors, you could have a discount that expires after a certain amount of time. So maybe they can get the program at 50% off or 75%, not 75, I wouldn't do that, 25, 30% off, 50 is probably the most I would recommend, but again, test it, see. And after a certain amount of days, the price goes back to full price. You could have a epic bonus that expires. So a lot of times when I launch my teacher course, I will kind of have a bundle where they get my course and then they get this really big set of templates that goes perfectly with my course. And if they buy within this certain amount of time, they get both and they don't have to pay an additional cost. Whereas normally outside of this live launch period, they would have to pay for those templates. So that's another great way to encourage people to buy. Okay, so that's number 2. Have multiple types of urgency, but at least have one. Do not leave your live launch open-ended and think, if I leave my cart open forever, I will get more people in. I promise you, you will not. If you close the doors, I always get the most amount of buyers on the last day. Close the doors, do something that is going to encourage them to make a decision. Okay, and then the last tip for live launching is spend all of your marketing time and or money on getting people into the top of the funnel, meaning getting people signed up for your webinar, challenge, or video series. So here's what I mean. If you're running ads, I know this is kind of a more advanced topic, but I love ads and I think they're a great way to expedite the process of getting people into your launch and get your launch into, or let more eyeballs be on your launch, I guess is the better way to say it. So when I run ads, I spend all of my ad budget on getting people to sign up for my challenge. I do not spend a single cent after the cart is open. Now, I'm not saying that that is what you should do, but I'm saying if you have a limited budget, I would spend, if not all, most of your budget getting people to sign up for the challenge webinar video series. I wouldn't spend a ton of money on the ads that say, hey, this program is open, or hey, this is the last day. Those are ads during open cart. It's called retargeting ads, where you are just showing those ads to people, typically, if you're doing it right, I think, who signed up for the challenge video or webinar. I wouldn't show those ads to a cold audience. These are warm audience members who you're showing these retargeting ads to. I'm not saying those are wrong, but I'm saying if you have a limited budget, I would not spend money on those ads. I have never done a retargeting ad campaign. I always spend my entire budget on getting people to sign up for this challenge. Now, what you have to make sure you do is you have to make sure the content of the challenge is really good, and you have to make sure that your email sequence is really good, because that is what's going to convert them. Not seeing a Facebook ad necessarily that tells them the doors are closing. Now, it could, but I've never had to do that, is what I'm saying. So make sure that your content for your webinar, video series, challenge, whatever you do, is really good. And then make sure that your email sequence during the open cart week is really good. And I teach all of that in my program, Hey Online Course. And I have templates for the email series that I send, so you can see exactly what I send. I tell you exactly what you should be putting in your live launch challenge videos or webinar, whichever one you choose. But you want to make sure that that's going to convert them. And as far as your time, let's say you don't have an ad budget, you're not doing ads, that's okay. Spend all of your time in that pre-launch phase getting people to sign up. So when you're on Instagram, have posts about signing up for the challenge. Get on stories and talk about signing up for the challenge. Everything is about getting people into this funnel. You want to collect their email address. You want to get them into this challenge funnel so that they will convert. If you are doing a podcast, have a podcast episode about what's going to be happening in the challenge. And then once open cart hits, you can still talk about things, but just don't feel like you have to have all of these beautifully curated Instagram posts about open cart or have a whole podcast episode necessarily about open cart, because a lot of times these people may not have seen the challenge post. So if they're not in the challenge and they don't see the value and you just send them straight to a sales page, unless your course is really inexpensive, it's going to be hard for them to make a decision about buying. So if they haven't seen anything about your challenge, they're just happening upon your open cart post, they click to the sales page and see this course is $1,000, but I really don't know anything about it, they're probably not going to buy. They need to be part of this funnel where they're seeing that you know what you're talking about, they're getting excellent value, they're getting all of this engagement and one-on-one time with you, and then they're going to buy. Okay, so just to recap, things that I'm seeing that are working really well for me right now in live launches: have a pop-up Facebook group, use multiple types of urgency, and then spend your time and money getting people into the top of the funnel. So getting people to sign up for the challenge, the webinar, the video series, the bootcamp. All right, I hope this was really helpful. Make sure you tune in for the next couple of weeks where my team member Emily and I are going to be going into all the details about our 6-figure live launch strategy. And don't forget, I have everything for you about live launching inside my program, Hey Online Course. You can find out more about that in the show notes.